really generating love and compassion and wisdom, like Guru Padmasambhava and these Buddhas or awakened ones, the enlightened ones, they're just always they always have the quality of love and compassion and wisdom on. There's just like the only thing happening for them is love and compassion and wisdom. So we're just like connecting to that in ourselves, connecting to that in these beings who are like fully that way all the time, regardless of circumstance. They're just always have their nature on, fully on. Like this enlightened nature is just always presently engaged. And so we're like, it's just a skillful means in Vajrayana to like link up and become sensitive to and attentive to like beings that are like that, and just be receptive to like, how is it to be loving all the time, compassionate all the time, wise all the time? Like, that sounds amazing. I would like to be that way too. Anytime I felt love, it feels really good. Receive love, give love. So like, please help me like see what I'm not seeing, and like so I can like just with dignity and courage and enjoyment like have love and compassion and wisdom beyond similar to how like such noble ones have done that before. Buddhists and non-Buddhists, all the awakened ones throughout the universe, those that are in this room now, those that are like way far away, those we would never recognize at all as being any kind of a Buddha. We have no clue, we wouldn't be able to see, but they're enlightened. Then we connect up to all of them, the love and compassion and wisdom of all beings. And we do this through this very distilled prayer, the 7-line prayer of Guru Padmasambhava. So we'll just recite it in Tibetan 3 times. And kind of like I'm making this a little more condensed. There's teachings by the great Zhanggang Mipam Rinpoche. This does condense all the 84,000 teachings of the Buddha. This one prayer includes refuge, bodhicitta, all the purifications, all the accumulations, all the Guru Yoga and kind of mingling minds. Like all these practices are contained in this one prayer. So right now we're going to generate this love, compassion, and wisdom and fully kind of let it saturate ourselves, and really just 3 times and kind of have this be the like grounding orientation of our being for this time together and on into the future. So page 14. Hong ho jin yu ji nu jan sam pe ma ge sa dum polam ya zin ju gi nu rum ni pe ma ju ne jesu dang Kodu kanru mambe ko jeji jesu dam tubji jin Jin yu ji nu jan sam pe ma ge sa dum polam ya zin ju gi nu rum ning pe ma jun ne jesu rang Kodu kanru mambe ko jeji jesu dam dubji jin Jin yu ji nu jan sam pe ma ge sa dum po blam ya zin ju gi nu rum ning pe ma jun ne jesu dang Kodu kanru mambe ko Jeji Jesu Dab Dubji Jin Thank you. So we'll do more extensive kind of exploration and practice of this later in the afternoon. Yeah. So this generating love, compassion, and wisdom is always going to be the main point for Buddhism. That's the main point. So everything else is going to be a secondary supportive condition to help us do that. Whether that's a body posture, a prayer we say, a reflection we hold in mind, a visualization, some kind of an expression, going to a certain place, like pilgrimage, refraining from doing something that's harmful. All these are supportive conditions, or the secondary, really valuable secondary supportive conditions to come back to the main point, which again and again is love, compassion, and wisdom. So these really, they say, this is like the little bit more elaborate way to talk about bodhicitta, the heart mind of enlightenment, that's pointed out in like Sutra Mahayana teachings of the Buddha, this like core, like it's often in Buddhism called Buddha nature, this way we naturally are. We're just naturally loving and compassionate and wise. And like just coming to like see that clearly for ourselves and to feel it and like more fully experience it, to see that in others, to like have our relationships be kind of really fully saturated with that love, compassion, and wisdom. This is the whole Buddhist path. And there's just kind of literally like infinite ways to do that, because we're all diverse, like our minds, our habits, our traumas, our languages, our experiences, the background we come from, the context we're in. It's such a rich diversity. And so like there are just countless ways to generate love, compassion, and wisdom. And the one thing that's like the task of each person who like really wants to like enjoy that, like to like develop greater trust in that in themselves and in others, is that however we do it, however we connect to that love, compassion, and wisdom in ourselves, it needs to be coherent. It needs to be like a patterned way that we can keep coming back to, that'll keep working for us. Like the supportive circumstances keep bringing us back to love, compassion, and wisdom. So like that's however we bake the cake, like it has to in the end have the cake. There's different ways, ingredients, shapes, sizes, flavors. Bake your cake. But in the end it has to make cake. And so it's like it has to be coherent. Like the recipe has to be coherent, the way we follow the steps has to be coherent. But like do it in the diversity of ways, but however we choose to like bake that cake, it has to actually like line up with itself. Which means fundamentally it has to line up with love, compassion, and wisdom. So that's this is that's a very big topic that I'm like more and more fascinated by, that a lot of different systems lead to awakening. They lead to love, compassion, and wisdom, but only if they're internally coherent with themselves. And that's a very interesting thing. It can't be mixed up inside. Like this is really related to karma, like an interdependence, dependent origination. It actually has to be a fully resonant system. Like the body has to actually functionally attune to itself in a way to maintain its coherence or its life. Like if something gets out of step, it just has this cascading effect where just stuff starts getting more out of line and it breaks down until it finds a more fundamental coherence. So there's a lot of different things we could explore with that. But it's a beautiful thing. because like love, compassion, and wisdom can be patterned and enjoyed in like numerous ways. Like it's really, there's no fundamentalism here. Like there's no one way to do this. And that's like, for me, it's a big relief. But it does put the responsibility on oneself. Like, however I'm doing it, like I need to be like, kind of, there needs to be some rhythm to it, like some pattern to it, some way that actually keeps coming back and nourishing my love and compassion and wisdom. And the Buddha taught many different systems, many different views, or many different philosophies, many different practice systems, many different lineage systems. Like the Buddha taught a lot of different ways, which I'm like more kind of metaphorically talk about also as like worlds, different worlds that the Buddha taught, and ways of knowing and ways of being. And they all work. Like, just like 9 yana vehicle systems, they all lead to enlightenment. Like, they lead to liberation, like freedom from the causes of suffering forever. And so that's just such a beautiful relief. So the overarching topic of this time together is called like how to become a gentle multi-world being. That was my reflective kind of poetic exploration. How to become a gentle multi-world being. Like how do we show up like in the various relationships we're a part of in ways that are gentle and like really nourish that love and compassion and wisdom. Like how do we show up in this room, its own little pocket oasis world, and we go out on the street and it's kind of its own world. And we look in ourselves and we have all these different kind of things going on inside. We can think of them as worlds. There's the like happy Dragpa, there's the like not so happy Dragpa, and it has its own climate and atmosphere and triggers and things it enjoys and ways it kind of always routes itself. Like there's like an ecology, like a world. And our relationships, they kind of have their own specific way of kind of getting into their rhythms. But yeah, the gentle multi-world being, it's another way to kind of point towards like what a bodhisattva, like what I suppose like a bodhisattva would like start to be like what we're aspiring to be like, and then what some beings have actually, like they're stabilized it, they realized it, they're like gentle, and they're fully able to just sync up with other beings according to what's helpful for the other beings. And they don't forget the like being part, like a general multi-world being. They don't ever lose the like beingness of love, compassion, and wisdom. They don't get lost in the doing of it, the designing of it, the engineering of it. They don't force anything. They're genuinely gentle. They're like responsive. They're only doing what's helpful. And they're not, they like don't, I mean, in one way, to put it kind of bluntly, they don't seem to care what, in one way, like what we believe in, what we're convinced of, the world that we prefer. They'll do it. They'll show up in however is needed to show up. If we need a fast way, the bodhisattvas will show up quickly. Slow way, they'll show up slowly. Vague way, they'll show up vaguely. Precise way, they'll show up precisely. We need just they're really dynamically responsive. They're really reflective of like what's actually needed here. Just like a doctor, just like diagnose and show up skillfully according to like what is actually helpful here. And so these great noble ones who are like, they're just like not caught. They're not caught in their way. They're actually available to like be with another being's way and to not break the pattern of it. Like fully just play the little kid's game and like in the way that helps support the little kid. Like you can like with your own adult intelligence, like you can know like the little kid wants only ice cream, like whatever, like, you know, like from the, like a wider range, deeper perspective, like that's not going to turn out well for them. So it's not just like being in someone else's world in a way that would end up being destructive. Like use our intelligence, but like be very flexible And so this concept of gentleness is a really big one in Buddhism. It's often talked about as like Shila, morality, ethics. Khenpo Rinpoches, the Venerable Khenpo Rinpoches, the kind of teachers of the Padmasambhava Buddhist Center, that's how they translate into English morality, gentleness. So beautiful. It's so profound. Like in the more bodhisattva approach or this Mahayana approach, like if we're really taking the kind of like bodhicitta, love, compassion, wisdom teachings really seriously, they see gentleness or morality as a way that we make an offering to others. Like by taming, by like, it's like we can see it, like we can like talk about it in different ways, but by like holding ourselves to gentleness, we actually create this relational field where others can just relax and enjoy, because there's no threat here. We show up like in a clear, like trusting, honorable way, like we're really soothed. Like they call it, the gentleness is like a cooling down of all the self-destructive habits. It's this cooling down where we're like not just constantly circulating them. So we're just like settling the disturbed water, like just settling it, and it'll like self-clear. It like self-clarifies our love, compassion, and wisdom. They come out when we just let them happen. And so these great bodhisattvas, the gentleness is like by just actually cooling down, like our own kind of agitation, constant stirring, like it actually becomes this field other beings can enjoy. And they just like, they're like, oh, there's nothing to really worry about here with this person and the situation. So I can relax and let my own goodness just shine. Like I can relax, basically, I can relax and be vulnerable. I can relax and be myself. And like, that's such a big offering to people. Because then there's no gaming here. You just like relax in a way, be gentle, and they can relax and like start enjoying like how it is when they're not having to defend, perform, convince, like constantly exaggerate. Just like, oh, just be natural. And like, oh, create a space for, oh, it's fine to be natural here. Like let your goodness come out. Share that. So this is all around the idea of gentleness in Buddhism. It's not just soft, sweet, syrupy candy. It's like actually like being like really in a refined way, like internally soothing, like soothed, like where it's just not constantly like tightening, locking, like crunching, contracting, not constantly like this, but just kind of like, just like cool it down a little bit and start to enjoy. And it's like, it doesn't mean like be kind of like floppy. It means just like, there's not much benefit to like squeezing too tightly. There's not much benefit to trying to like sink a screw in a wall like again and again and again and again and again, and like just to constantly engage because we have the habit of wanting to do it, you know? Like it's like do what's needed and then let it go. Like show up, clean, let it go. That's called gentleness. And these bodhisattvas are known to be like so precise, so like elegant, just like total artisans of life. They're just really like, everything is like crafting art for these great bodhisattvas. And they'll use anything, any palette, any expression, any world system, any way of being, any way of knowing. They're just like fully available because it's all part of interdependence. They're not like trying, really, this is all part of the nature of happening. And so they really like expand their reach, like of interdependence. Like their wisdom, their love, compassion isn't like waiting for the situation to like show up for them and then they'll turn it on. Because they put the primary condition first. They're not waiting to have the world be the way they want it and then they get to the main point. They're like training to be in the main point first. Love, compassion, and wisdom on. And then like aligning with worlds becomes an enjoyment of the more dynamic ways you can share love, compassion, and wisdom with yourself, your own kind of like multiplicity of like creative being, and also with others in the different ways that they are, that they know, that they're supported and, you know, enjoy. And there's just so many different ways. And then the being point of like to be a being. One thing that's like more, I don't know, just kind of lovely and interesting for me that's been helpful more recently is there's often this kind of like, in art culture, like a very strong emphasis on doing, performing, yang, always engaging, kind of very outward in one way. And that's all fine. It's just part of the story. But the being part is often overlooked, like presence, quality. And the interesting thing for me is like doing often emphasizes the agent. Me, you, the world, what's happening. Doing emphasizes the actor. Being emphasizes the connection, the relationship, the field, the relational field. This has a lot to do with lineage. It's why it's like such a skillful means to sync up to a relational field of wisdom blessings, of love, compassion, and wisdom, to like align with or be available to that way of worlding, as opposed to, I need to generate my love, compassion, and wisdom, and then I'm gonna like transform the everything to like become love, compassion, and wisdom, and it's a giant personal project, right? That's like agent-centered, actor-centered, self-centered. And it's like, and we can do that and make a lot of loveliness in that way, and also a lot of mess. Like, but if we emphasize the connection, the field, the being, the relational field, it's not just like, it's not an either or. It's not like that's what we really need to do. We need to do both. Like, it's like we do need to have the agentic part where we are intentionally activating a view, a motivation, a lived kind of way of worlding and being with. And there's this being quality of like, what is the field of the world that I'm in? How is it already doing awesome things? How is it already dangerous? Like, how is it? Like, what is it? Like these more being qualities, like what's the quality of the connection? What's actually the speed of the kind of relationship? And I'm speaking very generally, but it can be like really fine-tuned with a lot of detail. But this relational field is much more like a part of like what's often called like these more bhakti devotional traditions, versus the agent ones are much more like technique centered. Like, this is the technique you do. This is the philosophy you get good at. And as a doer, as an agent, like you do the philosophy, you kind of align the certain way, and then the result happens. So that's the more agent way, the more like self-orienting way. And then the field-orienting way is much more like this thing of love and compassion and wisdom is already happening. Like, how can I attune with it and just kind of ride that wave? And it's not a cop-out. It's actually like what we do. You walk into a room and the relational attunement is just like constantly happening. We're like, what's going on? What's dangerous? Where do I fit? It's just, we're such this like multi-genius, multimodal, multifaceted, like Buddha nature antenna. It's like we're really reading so many cues all the time. It's just, we often just like underplay that capacity because we're like very strongly emphasizing like just one line or one way that's like we've been trained or taught, or to like, this is what needs to happen in this situation. And kind of, so we like kind of distill this vast, nuanced, complex relational field we're a part of, like a world, into like a very specific task. And that works. Like, it can be very productive. Like, in many ways it can be productive. Like, how do you set up chairs? How do you, like, it's like task, you know? But it's like, if we lose the being in the doing, it's a big problem. And if we lose the doing in the being, it's a big problem. If we lose the view in how we are behaving, it's a big problem. If we get so caught up in the like behaving that we forget the view, that's a big problem. So it's really this being and doing are very important each. And so that's more specifically talked about. Being is often talked about as ontology. Doing is often talked about as like methodology. And then the third one is often knowing. How do we know? Epistemology, the different ways of engaging, of making sense, making meaning. And this in Buddhism is like specifically related to different views, conceptual views, like philosophies, and also non-conceptual or post-conceptual views, which is just like ways of engaging, ways of relating, like patterned ways of being, these kind of views. So I'm putting some topics out there to see what might spark any curious interest. But overall, the topic is like how to become a gentle, multi-world being. And I haven't gotten so much into the how part. That's related to like a lot of different bodhisattva trainings and techniques and ways of releasing and relaxing and recognizing. And we can go into that if people want. Like principally I was thinking of equalizing, exchanging, and seeing others as more important. So that's kind of where a thread of Tonglen kind of thought to kind of like open up earlier in the session. Like to equalize, we're all basically the same, Buddha nature. And exchanging, okay, if we're all Buddhas, like I'm one amongst a whole lot of beings, so like I'm going to put the other beings first. Not because I'm bad or, worthless, but because like let's just make sense, and like in the giving is the receiving, like in the like loving, like love happens. Like there's so many different really deep philosophical ways about why caring about others is actually self-affirming as well. And then like actually redefining like how we function as like how we literally like embodied and breathe. It's like beings, like others are so sacred, and just to constantly, there are such beings, these bodhisattvas, who really like it's just their nature is on. They just constantly are like, how can I show up for beings like more skillfully, like in ways that help them like become self-aware of their own Buddha nature. And there's a whole lot of teachings on that, like in Way of the Bodhisattva, that really comes down to knowing what to adopt, knowing what to reject. So that is very related to patterns and what is coherent in this world we're a part of right now. This room world, this my body world, this relationship world. What to adopt, what to reject. All the Bodhisattva conduct comes down to just what world is this I'm in now? And how do I elegantly align with it in ways that'll just like let it auto-poetically have love, compassion, and wisdom be how it is. Like it already has that capacity. How do I allow for it in ways like really attuning? So that's some of the how of how to become a gentle multi-world being. So I'm putting some things out there, and then if people are interested, we can kind of open it up and like explore like certain threads. So I'll kind of like open that now. And if people want, if there's any outstanding questions, yay, let's do it. And we can kind of engage. And then secondly, the thought I had was this morning was like to ask each person if people wanted, like, of course, like, what's your name? But like, what have you enjoyed? What have you really, really enjoyed today already? Like a couple things. It's like, what's been like really nice today already? Like something you've noticed or whatever. Like something is like, oh, that was really, something. So I thought that was one way into this kind of worlding together too. So if there's any questions, feel free. And if do people want to go around and like say who they are and like, there's something you like already liked today? Yeah, cool. All right, I'm Dragpa. I like the smell of coffee earlier today. That was a very nice thing. I liked remembering that like spring was like seeming to really be happening in this little neck of the woods. Like I was like, maybe this version of the dream is still going today. That was really nice. And somehow I liked the feeling of like walking on this summit. I don't know, it was like a flashing moment of enjoyment. It was like felt really grounded and I don't know, something. So those are a few things I enjoyed this morning already. Hello. We want to just loop around as people? Yeah.
I'm Abra. I think something that I already enjoyed today was, or actually it was yesterday, was that the tree outside my window that's like just beneath my apartment just has tiny buds that aren't even leaves yet. They're just little balls.
Mm-hmm.
It made me really happy.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Hi, I'm Claire. I would say for me, the sound of my 11-year-old daughter breathing, she was still sleeping when I left, and it still makes me think of when she was a baby. It's just like a very sweet sound.
Mm.
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
Gabrielle,
Hey.
and I popped out of the subway here on Christie and Houston and realized that the magnolia trees across the street were already blooming. It just, I always wanted to be like an archivist of spring, just try to notice each thing as it happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm Julie. I got the train in the nick of time, and I got on the train and I saw a friend that I don't run into, and and then the train changed tracks, and I didn't have to transfer, so the visit became longer and longer and longer, and that was really delightful.
Mm.
I'm Sean. I got an easy parking spot today.
All right.
And I was able to parallel park, so I felt good about myself. But I like the quietude of this room. I like to talk too, so yeah, thanks.
Hi, I'm Priyanka. So the positive thing is actually walking in here. I've been kind of bitter for like a month or so, and I walked in and all of that just went. That was great. So thank you for that beautiful relational field.
Yay! Thank everyone. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Laurel. So I missed the train, and then I was like, oh, I was so upset because I knew it was going to be late, and I was, but then I was like, okay, I have 10 minutes to just sit on this outside platform and just enjoy the weather. So I enjoyed the weather, and then there are lots of women wearing skirts, I guess because it's Easter weekend. And then I also enjoyed knowing I was coming here, okay, I'm going to be late, it's not the end of the world, this. This is a good place to be, so I enjoyed knowing. I looked forward to coming here today.
I'm Mitch, and it was the incense when I walked in here. It was really powerful, and the spring was beautiful. But I'm a John Giorno guy, and just being able to come in here, I've never been in here before. It's a really sacred moment, and to see.
So grateful to him, huh?
It's incredible. It's a beautiful space.
Like
so so thank you so much.
Thank you, John. It keeps going. These fields of kindness keep going, sometimes in very literal ways. He got this space in the early 80s, at least, maybe the 70s. I forget the exact date. And this room has been very generously offered by John for so many Tibetan Buddhist masters have come. This is literally one of the doorways of Vajrayana Buddhism into the United States. 100%, there's no doubt, this literal room. There's some pictures of some of these great masters here.
That's amazing. I mean, look at all of those beings. Look at all those
It's true. His Holiness Drudra Rinpoche was here. His Holiness Dragpa Khenchen Rinpoche was here. His Holiness Penna Rinpoche was here. His Holiness Sakyatrisan Rinpoche was here. The Venerable Khenpo Rinpoches were here. Dodrupchen Rinpoche was here. I think Tinley Norpa Rinpoche came here. And there's some other great masters here, Kondra Rinpoche and Chatra Rinpoche. I'm not sure if they came here. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok came here. There's so many, really, for decades. So these fields continue. Yeah, cool.
In her 70s, and she was a student of Dudjom Rinpoche, and she remembers she lives out in California, but I told her I was coming here. She remembers being here when he was here, so it was just, it was amazing.
Wow.
To hear that kind of story, Yeah.
So does anyone want to explore any thread there? Like, feel free. I mean, I can talk more. I can talk for like way too long. But I can also, we can just, if there's anyone have any, or just anything. Yeah, Sean, go for it.
I like what you spoke about with ethics and gentleness, how when you cool things down, it allows another person to be themselves and feel safe. What's interesting is sometimes, and this could be from my field too, sometimes it feels like there's a dynamic where that person is not pulled down and is critical to me, and I'm just wondering the right way to like handle that. I guess in asking my question, I guess the answer is to cool down too, but I just wonder if you could talk about being on the receiving end of not that quality and how to manage that.
Yeah, I tend to respond in very broad ways because I like, if someone is like really good doctors, like they'll give you the exact remedy, right? Because they're just like, okay, this is a situation, here's the medicine, this is the exact thing. So I generally offer like big, broad things. So one of the big kind of general frameworks for this kind of like question is there's generally 4 ways of engaging. Like when something is like basically too much or strong or imbalancing or like a toxic or like threatening or super negative, destructive. The 4 different ways, and they depend on what's going on with us. The first way is like to basically give space. This in general is like kind of a renunciation approach. Something's happening and it's just too much, and like I'm starting to collapse like too. Like I'm resonating with it and it's just like, whoa, I'm immediately like gonna throw back the same kind of negativity. So the first approach is like, if I'm really tight inside like that, is get space. No, this is just too much. The thing's too much. Hey, can't do it now. Like, sorry, another year, tomorrow, chill out. Like, no, I'm not down. Whatever, get space. That's in general renunciation. The second way is like, if there's a little more flexibility inside, the general ways are antidotes, to make something like like to balance out the situation a little bit. Someone comes with a bunch of fire and you like increase the water. Like someone comes with a bunch of anger and you're like, I'm turning my patience flexibility skills on, you know, like someone comes with a bunch of confusion. It's like, I'll bring like more clarity on like, what's the causes and conditions going on here. Like, so there's like kind of networks of like, what's the disturbance and what's the antidote to that. So Buddhism has a really rich tradition of like antidote approaches, and that's usually like Sutra Mahayana. The get space is more foundational Buddhism. It's often like Theravada is one example of like get space. Just don't keep feeding the poison. So then Sutra Mahayana is like, oh, this antidote approaches. And then Tantra Mahayana or Tibetan Buddhism starts to include transformation, transformative response. That's the third one. And that's like, okay, you're coming with anger. Well, I'll be like Buddha Vajrakalaya. And like that anger's like nothing. Like for such a being, basically it's like, wow, this is, you can play this way, fine. Like I have no fear of that. It's kind of like I can play the hardcore obstacle course game. Like I have my love and compassion and wisdom is fine with that. I'll play that game. I'll play the slow game. I'll play the whatever game. So when we're in that kind of a way of being, where it's just like, yeah, I'll play that. Like, and it can be just like super like surgery time, you know, it's just like on. I don't know anyone watching that, The Pit or whatever, but it's just like, it's like surgery, like it is just kind of like, oh my God. But some people, that's their jam. Like, and so it's more this transformation. This is more Vajrayana, like transformation, like connect to the Buddha nature and fully like, I'll be this way. It's not shutting me down now. Like I can show up for it. And then the fourth way is like more Dzogchen, Mahamudra, or the inner tantra, highest inner tantra, unexcelled inner tantra approach. And that's more usually called self-liberation, where it's like, there's not like the general approach is like, this isn't a problem to figure out. It's not a problem to fix. Like you just like basically are in like such a deep field of being, doing, knowing, of like naturalness, that like the problem has so much space to like undo itself. Like it's just not in any way on your side seen as some kind of a threat. it's almost like comical. Like, and that doesn't mean you don't take it seriously. It just means like internally, this is like you have like worlds of space inside that like love and compassion and wisdom is very easy. They say, like, make your heart, that Elizabeth Matisse Namgyal, she said this metaphor, it's really helpful. There's like a Tibetan saying, like, make your heart like is big enough to like have a horse race inside of it. It's like a very common Tibetan, there's always like animals, like agricultural stuff. So it's like an ocean, you know, if like you take a teaspoon of salt and put it in a cup, like it ruins it, you know, you can't drink that. But if you make your heart the size of like a freshwater lake, and you put a thing salt in there, it's like no big thing. So like that's all these bodhicitta practices, love, compassion, and wisdom, are like really trying to get that like expansively spacious and big, so that when we do engage in very real ways with very real challenges that are really dangerous and can have like everything has consequences, right? Cause, condition, effect. That teaspoon of salt will be like, no big thing. So I'm happily can engage it. So those are the 4 general ways: get space, antidote, transform, and self-liberate. And that relates to like foundational Buddhism, Sutra Mahayana, Tantra Mahayana, and Dzogchen. And it just depends on, for us, what's going on. So like which is the proper, what we have to be mindfully aware of, like what's going on in me, the other, the connection. So like their world, my world, the connection. And then be like, okay, this is what's available currently. So this is the best fit for given what's happening right now. So those are my very general broad strokes. Anyone else have a suggestion? Like, what do you do when something is like strong?
You know, when something has you hooked, they you know, like, you know, Pema Chodron wrote a lot about Shempa, you know, and you know, she says, you know, how do you get that like little moment where you can have enough space to realize it's happening? And I mean, for her, I guess that was the key, and you know, just like the noticing of it gives you a chance, you know, that you're not, you know, that you don't have to escalate, you can put it down. Yeah.
Oh, that's profound. Yeah.
I don't know how successful I've been at that, but you know, it you know, it gave me a chance to at least notice.
So much of what I understand about Buddhism is with respect to like, you know, direct, like what's in front of you, right? And it's about presence. And kind of, to me, it's sort of inherently like easier to understand how to respond, or like more natural for me to respond to something directly in front of me. I'm just curious about, like, as we think about gentleness and like creating a relational field, how to think about that, or how to practice that in a way that's different with respect to things that we know are going on around us that we're not in direct relationship with, you know, more the, you know, conceptual realities, I guess, of what's going on in our country and what's going on in the world and things like that. Like, how is that talked about, or is it almost like beside the point because it's not immediately in front of us?
Yeah, so one of the teachers of like PBC, Padmasambhava Buddhist Center, Venerable Khenpo Tsewang Dongyal Rinpoche, he often has said for many, many years, and it seems to ring more and more true for me, like think globally, act locally. And so in terms of Buddhism specifically, that's for the Bodhisattva way of the Bodhisattva, those courageous, like really trying to have the enlightenment of every single being. That means like bodhicitta is like aspiring bodhicitta. This is the think globally. And then there's the actualizing or engaging bodhicitta, when we really put it into lived practice. And that's like the like act locally. So like these two are always critically important for like a robust or like a full kind of spectrum bodhisattva approach. And most of what like we're doing or I'm doing is like very beginning practitioner, beginning person knows about any little tiny speck of Buddhism. It's mainly aspiring. And that's like it's like aspiring bodhicitta, like actually wishing for the happiness of every being and wishing for the end of suffering of every being and wishing for them all to have like joy no matter what that never wavers, and wishing to like see every single being as our own like most sacred precious loved one, you know, like these four boundless, to orient again and again and again and again, so that becomes our default orientation. Like the power of aspiration is what makes the actualizing bodhicitta actually happen. Like we can do it in like little nuggets of like actualizing bodhicitta, to like do a simple kindness, or like in a job do a bigger kindness, or give up something really generously, or like learn any dharma, anything, which is all like radically big. To reorient away from selfishness is like all evolutionarily like tremendous. Like to just even pause to like consider someone else first is like a giant leap, like in everyone's like our own mind heart unfolding. But it's just to say that aspiring bodhicitta part, like so many masters have emphasized that. There's so many teachings on that. The great Shantideva and the Way of the Bodhisattvas, like almost all the bedrock Way of the Bodhisattva stuff is to aspire, and that has very real world tangible effects. It just might be that like we're in the middle of a very complicated situation or world system. Like a nation is like a very complex world. Like so many worlds. Like how many worlds are just on this block? Like how many different moving parts? Like if you were the mayor of this block, like you would spend your whole life trying to get a really good, I mean, it still would be not that good. I mean, it's so complex what we're a part of, this interdependence thing. So most of the energy needs to be put into aspiring bodhicitta for like a good long while until it's really on. And that's what like practice, when for a lot of people it's very unsatisfying to be like, you know, okay, the world's on fire in these specific ways, or this horrible thing's happening, or like this tragic thing happened to us peoples, or like my friend's dying, like what do I do? Like these are all real things, and like it's just, first, it has to be like, I care, and I really wish I could be like of the perfect help for this situation, to like really kind of keep orienting that way. It really kind of aligns so that can be like a very possible future, as opposed to just like trying our best, and usually we get burned. You know, try your best, kind of not like whatever, it's not really available to have a bad thing stop or reorient or whatever, and then it just like ends up being some kind of a heartbreak. They can end up being like a very big obstacle on our path. Like a lot of the Bodhisattva's skillful means is preventative healthcare. It's not getting hurt. A lot of it is that. It's not trying to go out and do the right thing all the time. It's just like, I think this is my guess, I think most bodhisattva activity is preventing the fires. It's not really putting them out. When the fire's on, like there's a lot of causes and conditions that have already come to have that fire turn on. Like it's really hard to redirect or stop something when it's the full result is displaying. It's really hard. But you can prevent a fire by like doing a lot of stuff. Like, and it's the unnoticed stuff. It's like, because how many times did our world not blow itself up? Like a lot of times, actually. Like I think a lot of the bodhisattva activity is actually like that. It's preventative, which in a very hyper doing culture, like it has to show up in a very quantifiable metric way. That stuff is considered like not real. It's like not really preventative healthcare. Like there's like no funding in that, you know? It's all about spending money on the broken thing. Like, cause it's a lot of money to spend, you know? Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think it's also like, when I think about it, like the think globally, act locally, like I think all the horrible things that we hear about are happening because people are hurt. Like hurt people with power making decisions. Or like hurt people who who feel separated from one another enough to feel like it's us versus them, or hurt people who are okay hurting people because they can't feel it when they hurt somebody. So it's like, I mean, it feels a little negative to think this way, but there's a lot of really horrible things happening that I witness or I know about, or that are happening behind closed doors that I don't know about, but that are a lot closer to my own life. So it's a lot of realizing, like, you know, like, I don't know, just to make something up, like, say my neighbor is abusing their child, you know, like, that's closer to me. It's never gonna make the news, most likely, but it's closer to my sphere of influence or action or response. So I just try to remember that like, it's not just like bad things are happening out there, they're happening everywhere all the time because of people not being just like, with not being able to handle their anger or their hurtness or their fear or their loneliness, whatever it is. So it makes me, it does start to feel overwhelming sometimes, but I just try to, like, just do the best with the interactions I can have. And then there's times where, like, if somebody is really, like, attacking me because I'm being gentle, and I like remind myself, like, oh, like, they're projecting, like, this is not about me, this is about me being open enough to receive what they're putting out. And that doesn't mean I have to take it. Like, it's like a bounce off thing. Like, okay, like, they can be angry, but that's not necessarily a reflection on anything that has been in my conduct. It could just be that it's kind of like I've just been gentle enough or safe enough for them to project onto. Like sometimes people who are really hurt, they're not going to project onto somebody that they feel is really intimidating or scary or big. They're going to project onto somebody who feels, at least from my experience, who feels like safe enough that they're not going to get hurt back.
Yeah. They'll be able to control it.
See them, like, and think to yourself, like, this is just so not about me, you know.
Real quick, is it cool if I respond and then Julie and then clan up.
What is it?
Sangha.
Yeah,
we're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Like, get a good team, get a good dream team. That can be one person. That can be, it's just like so many of the trouble. I think so much of the heightened tension and overwhelm of the suffering of this time is like we all feel like we have to do it alone somehow. Like, and it's just not true. It's not how any culture's ever done that. Like, it's always been some kind of like, I'm doing this with others, like, and I need them and they need me, like, and there's some other. So in Buddhism, the triple gem, 3 jewels, like Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, like the Sangha, the community, people aligned with love, compassion, and wisdom, like that is like such a deep reservoir of like, of truth, of like how this whole path plays out. And I think trying to come back to like, okay, what are ways that I can realize I'm not alone in this, like a good, you know, like try to cultivate a certain friendship of trust and like kind of a deeper sharing and kind of like show up, you know, and like when they need help, and because we don't have to figure this out on our own. We don't have to like engage this on our own. It's just never been a solo agent endeavor, this whole thing of samsara. Like we have plenty of power to create more samsara for each other and to like create more nirvana for each other. We're like, all of us have that power. And like, we can help rely on others to like help ease the suffering and like be of benefit to others and like help ease their suffering. Like, so that's part of a response that I think is like, I just want, the Sangha element is really big. And that, yeah, it's such a wild time. I mean, it's such a wild time. It's just about to be like digitally mediated all the time for a generation, even Sangha, like digital community, like basically mimicked 3D worlding, where like people are like in their Sangha and it's like this immersive 3D space. It's not like a 2D Zoom screen. It's like it's just like, and so to not open that door very far because it's kind of off topic, but like whatever helps have Sangha or community, like also like whatever helps a genuine connection in between beings. That can be some outside thing mediating, it can be some inside way of being that helps that, like that's available as a skillful means. But if it removes us more from the embeddedness, from our connections, from our presence to like relational fields, it's really dangerous. Like basically, if it extracts us from embedded community, Sangha, ecology, environment, world, if it pulls us out and then makes us unable to like be with more of a diversity of beings, ways of being, worlds, it's a really danger in terms of Buddhist teaching. But if whatever the new thing or the old thing or the thing we haven't tried, whatever it is that helps foster that connection, that togetherness, the belonging, the like mutual win-win uplift, that's like that's available for bodhisattvas. So anyway, as like a side point, that's like, I mean, 5 years from now, these conversations are going to be, it's the same conversation we're going to have for eternity, but it has a lot of different versions. And I have a feeling there's just things like, I hope people still come and like breathe the same air together. Like, it's like nice to like have to miss the subway or make the subway, and nice to actually still be doing this. Julie, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, I was thinking on some concepts that I'm working with lately that have shifted my ideas that others made aware. And I think our culture often talks about like putting on protective armor from things. But now I'm seeing it as like if I'm interacting with somebody that I feel their pain or feel their anger towards me, that it's also within me, and I can look at them more compassionately and think, oh, that's an expression of all of us. And I never thought about that before, but I'm practicing it, and not the armor just seems so confining. But like to have, I don't know if you could speak to that in Buddhism or where that idea is coming from, but to have it flowing, that the flow is like a river, is much more aligned rather than this rigidness and breaking.
Yeah, two different things come up for me. My wife is an acupuncturist and Chinese herbal doctor. So in Chinese medicine, the very little I know of it, it's like sees like the body as a relational system, much more like a garden than a machine. It's much more flowing patterns of connection and function and interaction, as opposed to like find the broken part and replace the part. And so there's just it's a lot more about like flowing patterns, like and knowing like what is the flow and how to be with it. And also it's like some flows are not helpful. So it's like some things need to be like lessened to. So that's kind of one thing that popped into my mind. Then the second thing was Trungpa Rinpoche. He said something that was really been helpful for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people for a long time. It's like the tenderness of a bodhisattva. It's like the armor metaphor. It's often like where the armor has to bend. That's like where we're actually available to be real. it's like where we're actually available to be influenced and affected by experience is like where the vulnerability is. And like it's like part of the training is to actually be able to be tender and real with like what's not as seasoned according to how we want it, but it's just like the rawness. It's like the basic shamatha calm abiding practice, and like just not doing stuff but still paying attention. It's this like cooling off of boredom. Now everything is becoming like a some amazing new technique. Like boredom is like getting to be like a new big thing. Like,
Yeah, it's been rediscovered.
it's been rediscovered. Like you just don't do anything, and it's like, whoa, we're gonna maximize that too. But anyway, it's like boredom, or just like taking some time to just not do anything. That actually exposes us to like not be in control of it, instead of just be like, what is happening here? And it's kind of like where the bend of the armor is, as opposed to like a layering that's like buffered. That's like there's concepts of a buffered self. Charles Taylor, like a more hyper-agentic cultures, like they typically have these like very layered, buffered, protective coatings around like very atomized approaches to culture. So I don't know, so that tenderness or the vulnerability, the spot often is talked about as like a limit. More and more, I think, like, for my, again, very little meager understanding, more and more I think the Tantra Mahayana is actually showing that the limit is where all the power is. It's where all the connective creativity is in the limit, or the weakness, or the fragility, because that's where there's a ton of interdependence. Because we're not controlling that part. We're like actively in a flow of something, and it can be scary or dangerous. It depends. But like, there's a lot of flow happening in that spot, interdependence, because I haven't yet like gotten it to fit in the specific way that I'm good with, because it's like different reasons. But anyway, there's a lot there that the limit, the Achilles heel, like is actually where a lot of the creative expression is. But that's like a very fine line. That's why it's like, that's a Tantra Mahayana thing. And it just has to be, it's like, all these Pema Chodron sayings about going to the place that scares you, and like, it's all like kind of, there's like big Lojong mind training tradition of like working with the deepest way we seize up first, because like that's the most that's the bedrock thing that will like release more of the problems like easily if we go to like more core stuff first. But that again is all very rooted in kindness. There's just so much bedrock Buddhism kindness that has to be a part of all of these approaches. Whether we're going to give space, do an antidote, transform, self-liberate, they're all so deeply interwoven with a general kindness or a loving kindness. That's really foundational, like this, just to really have this care mode be more actively on. Kind to the limit, kind to the person suffering, kind to them in a way where they don't create more suffering, so you stop them. Like, it's just like, it's all this deep kind of tenor of care that's like the bedrock of all of like ascertaining what's good, what's helpful here, what's not, what to adopt, what to reject. How to be gentle in a way that's not dangerous. Like in a wild world, that's like, how to be gentle and like still be very wide awake and like very kind of fearless and courageous and well-resourced. That's the talk of gentleness. Like that's the kind that we're really like thinking of here. Not gentle where it's just like, kind of like in a silly way, kind of more of like cartoon way, something. Do you have something, Mitch?
Yeah, I had a story. I appreciated what you said, just in general, all the talk. It's really nice. But you said you kind of defended aspiration. And you defended the aspirational quality of the bodhisattva thing. And I used to be really confused by the tankas And I was like, what's up with all these demons and all these deities and all these gilded things? I never got it. I was really confused. And then someone said, like, well, they help with visualization. It's an aspiration. And I had a Dharma friend who founded one of the sits that I used to do in Boston. And he got sick during COVID. And during that time, he took the Bodhisattva vow. And he was sitting with the group at the Pima Kalaya out in Washington. And I would talk to him a lot, and he was really sick. And he took this vow, and he became, Sean became Vajra Dorje. And I'll never forget just like how powerful his example was as a person, as an aspirant, And I saw him in the hospital before he died, and he had ports in his back. I mean, he was really, really sick. And when he died, I had a dream. And we were in like this kind of bardo thing, and we were in the bed at the corner of the hallway. And I was talking about, you were talking about that ultimate versus relative reality thing. And I was like, well, ultimately, we're beyond all this stuff. And he goes, no, Mitch, it really hurts. It really hurt. And that was a dream. It was the craziest teaching. And it was so wild. But, I've been sitting here, like we're blissed out upstairs, and like there are people starving on the Bowery.
Yeah, totally.
I mean? Like we're in the Bowery mandala thing, and
100%.
It's one of the hardest things I've struggled with the Buddhist thing, where you have the aspirational and you have like the hard rock, like suffering thing, and they're at the same time. You know? And it's like Trungpa calls it the razor's edge. That like we're always sitting on the razor's edge, and for me, like I just really appreciated the aspirational quality because like I need a direction to go in. Like I need to feel that. That's like part of why was drawn to Buddhist practice. That it felt like there was a lot of movement and energy in it, and through that, like I think that's where that transformation to that compassion thing can happen. Because for me, the compassion thing does not happen based on the word. It always came from like extreme, suffering for me. Like that was my experience, And so I just really appreciated music in that. And I was just thinking about my friend Sean and how he really was a true. I mean, he was a uniter and an organizer, and he did a lot of that sangha work. And
wherever he is, his mind. May bodhicitta be on now and forever. For all beings. Aspiring and worlding is one of those things that hits this like kind of soft spot. It's like a soft spot of our culture in general, like to speak very generally, like in a hyper-secular culture, where like we kind of have to see it to believe it, and it like has to very basically tangibly be available in like really specific ways in order to be considered real. Like this is a real thing. Like this is something in the real world. That's a very specific cosmology. A very specific version of a world, like of how worlds have to be. And the Buddhist version of worlds is like, it includes that. It includes like the super obvious stuff that's even not obvious, like very subtle material. It includes that. Like, it includes this full range of secular. And like on this point of worlding, of like multi-world being, every layering of Buddhism includes so many kinds of beings and so many kinds of worlds and so many kinds of lifespans and abilities and cities. And I mean, it's just the cosmology in Buddhism, like the actual narrative world framing is like immense. And like in time and space, it is vast and diverse, and the patterns are extensive. Like the scales of lifetimes and of embodiments is like and just to this point of being like a gentle multi-world being, like it might be that some of that doesn't fit in the secular box is actually really true. Just as true as the Bowery's true. Like as equally dream real. Like just as true as the human thing seems to be the unquestionable reality of it all for humans. Like Buddha might have been actually saying the 6 realms are not just things in our minds. It's not just a way of humans psychologize. It might actually be zones of reality making by beings or ways of being that like align that way and like experience this vast diversity of tragedy and drama and comedy like in those ways, just like it is for all this vast spectrum of animals on planet Earth. And so, yeah, I wanted to not, this is like directly relevant to the topic too, because like how to actually, like all this, it's a very big view / body that Buddhism is pointing towards. The embodiment of like actually being a bodhisattva. Like the amount of relational fields we're trying to be willing, like at least an aspiration, we're trying to be willing to actually care about. There's so many beings and so many different world systems, and there's just the span of time and space is just really deeply vast in the Buddhist cosmology. Of all the layers, the outermost Theravada layer, Sutra, Tantra, Dzogchen, it only includes more the more you go into it. There's so many different internested ways of being, doing, knowing. Epistemology, ontology, methodology, there's so many ways. So, and even just hanging out in the secular version of that is just like immensely complex, and there's so much good to do there and so much to care about and so much to grieve over and so much to learn from and celebrate and like, and on the aspiration side, it's like, and if there is more than meets the eye beyond like the way my eye is and like how it understands and meets things, if there is more than that, I want to be gentle and like very skillful and helpful in that way too. And we can leave it as an aspiration. Like I think that's healthy to have like a sustained ... in our practice, to really have an open mind around all of it. That's not open mind and therefore like mindless. It's like open mind and very heart, very clear mind. It's just asking more of us. There's just actually more that we have to participate in. And we don't have to do it all right today, because nothing's ever been all done right today. And it's not going to happen now. It's just like, this is all very involved, what we're a part of. And then in the end, like in very functional, like practical things, it really comes down to like having high quality presence. And that just really means love, compassion, wisdom, like right now. Like have it be on and learn how to keep it on. And that doesn't mean just when I'm like in like little oasis bliss zone on the Bowery and there's other suffering that's not in the room. It means like keep it on like more throughout a day. Like more as we just experience our daily everything. Like that's the Buddhist path. It's not, it's like, it's practical. It's like have formal sessions where it's like we learn to do it and learn to engage it and open it and relax and recognize where it's easier for us. That's very practical. But the point is to like then have it be on more and more and more of the time with like high quality presence and more of our worlds, relational fields that we're a part of. Like that's what these great bodhisattvas and Buddhas have done. Like they've accomplished that it's on all the time. That's why they're called wisdom beings. They're like beings totally infused with wisdom. Or sometimes they're called in Tibetan Buddhism Vijadaras, awareness holders. They keep holding that awareness on. They keep love, compassion, and wisdom on. Not in a holding, controlling, manipulating, but just it has the natural way of being on at a certain point. It's called First Bhumi Bodhisattva, and it stays on And then they extend their reach of relationality further. And then it goes to second bhumi. And further and deeper and wider, third bhumi. And further, and it's just more and more worlds they're like becoming aware of and actively participating with, like with their love, compassion, and wisdom on. So right at the beginning of the Bodhisattva, once it's really on, it's not just aspiring, it's really actualizing all the time for those beings. That's called emptiness, usually, like if we look at the ultimate side. Then the whole rest of the bhumis, the Bodhisattva layers is actually embodying emptiness more extensively. It's not having a different emptiness. It's the same emptiness. It's just more worlds you can be in, elegantly, skillfully, and have like, and actually like be serving beings in these like ways that were like unfathomable on the first bhumi. I mean, the Venerable Khenpo Rinpoches, they said, a fully enlightened Buddha is like 11th bhumi. If you like slice the pie in one way, it's the 11th. 10th bhumi Bodhisattva is like, I mean, it's just like 10 to the like multiple, like how far into past lives, how far into like extensive lands and abilities. It's just like galactically, mind-blowingly, heart-openly immense. This 10th bhumi Bodhisattva before they become a Buddha. The Khenpo Rinpoche said, if you compare the realization or the awakening of a Buddha to a 10th bhumi Bodhisattva, the 10th bhumi Bodhisattva is like a blind person groping in the dark. It's just like the immensity of what we're a part of, like of that just is to say of interdependence. That's why they're always like, karma is the one thing only a Buddha can actually know. Like karma means the full field of relational connection without distorting it at all. Like even a 10th bhumi Bodhisattva is like kind of like a firefly compared to the sun, like the way how much our heart can open, like really how much. So at the very least, we start with just like, okay, kindness on. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the step exactly in that same direction of same realization where it's just like really kindness on, and every way kindness can be on with every embodied, like textured, layered interconnection way that kindness can be real. I want to be like that, the way like a Buddha, you know? And I have that nature, you have that nature, every being has that nature, and I want every being to have that fully on now. In the most natural, soothing, relaxed, easy way possible. Just super carefree. Like, may that be so. May it be so.
Thank you for saying, you know, what Vidyahara means. I've seen, what they, make art-wise.
Yeah.
So as far as like an emanation of a Vidyahara, and I've heard so often, great masters, will be, they'll use that term. He was a great Vidyahara.
Yeah.
And so it really, you said a bodhisattva that's always on. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it's so profound.
You, at the beginning, when you talked about Tonglen, I found this just immensely helpful, just to kind of like not resist. You said of Tonglen, other beings, of course I'll help you. And that was a great little gateway. Of course I'll help you. That it's as simple as that. Because I find, I find always there's sort of a natural resistance to Tonglen because of course you believe in yourself so strongly that, so thank you. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, whenever I come into the city, it's really nice because it's like it's very much like a field of ripening karma.
Yes, it is. It's like max
That's the
speed.
most gentle way to put it.
But how many times have we prayed in the past, like really aspired? Like, I want to show up and like really care for a being, like care for all beings. You know, this came from somewhere. But in a city like this, in a densely urban place, like all of a sudden in very short periods of time, we're like, our prayer is like, it's like literally coming right in front of us.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can care for you now. Like, I can care for you now. I've prayed to have this happen for a long time. But it's just like, walk down a street, go on a subway, fly over a city. Like, all of a sudden, it's basically the closest we've had contact with, like, so many beings ever. Like, in a very long time. And it's just like, at that moment, it's like, oh, may you really deeply be happy. You know, and it doesn't have to be some cognized thing, just like a field, like of course I care for you, you know, just like be a field of like genuine care, like, and like that means that all these beings that we're having, like probably for a lot of beings, like, you know, who knows, I'm speculating, like maybe this is the one time in an eon where we're going to have this close contact with this one person, this one dog, this one cricket. Like, it could be like, this is the time. And then it, like walking past someone in a parking lot, like, that was it. Like, the elevator ride, like, that was the opportunity. Like, that was it. And so, like, to really, it's very practical to, like, try to be, like, generate a field of, like, I love beings. Like, with carefully, you know, not like I love beings, have my money, you know, but like I love beings, like as a field of care,
But the
of
subway's
kindness.
a real practice.
But the subway is like a for real thing. And I'm saying this as someone just coming in and getting a taste and leaving. Like, I'm not saying this is that I live here all the time and like what's required of that. Like, and it's just not, I'm not assuming the inequality there.
Sometimes I
But
just
yeah.
feel like it's a bunch of hungry ghosts. Like, I really get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel so, like, I feel a lot of anger at the lack of awareness. Like, someone sat on me in the subway today
Oh.
and stayed there.
Oh,
And
wow.
I didn't have the energy to be like, miss, you're sitting on my leg.
Oh.
And she eventually got up because I think she realized. But, like, there's a lot going on there, but like sometimes I'm just like, I get really angry about it, and I don't know where to put that. You know, like I can say a prayer,
Yeah.
you know, in my head, and, and hope that it gets there, and then but or like someone, like yesterday I was walking down the street and like I don't look like I have a lot of money. Like of all the people they could have approached, and this man like got in my face, was like, can you buy me something to eat? And I just, I didn't make eye contact, and then he just started cursing and you know, and I'm just like, wow, like what, you know, I try not to take it personally, and like I try to do what I can, and I'll, you know, I'll say a prayer in my head for them. But it's hard to like be in a living here and feeling like there's so many people who aren't in acknowledgement that we're all in this together. And instead it just feels like a lot of like wanting, like people just wanting to take and grab. Or just like plain unawareness, like just someone not being aware enough of their body to know that they're sitting on me. You know, or like there was a man who started taking off his clothes when I was waiting for the train. It was warm, he took his shirt off, he's just gonna get full on naked. Which like, I'm laughing because like it doesn't, I get it, like it's nice and warm out, but like the lack of awareness is so strong sometimes that I feel so overwhelmed, and then I'm like praying to Tara, and you know, like, you know, thinking, you know, like sometimes I'm praying for myself, like just to, but like I don't know how to like hold on to gentleness in those moments.
Yeah. Well, protection and protection's a big deal in Buddhism.
Yeah.
Because armor is actually really functional. Like driving in a really extra safety enhanced car is really helpful. Like, so there's all these skillful means thing. Like gentleness doesn't mean like become vulnerable in every way and because in like wish and a prayer kind of thing. Like there's all these different things, these beings we can connect with. There's like these literally like different protection cords and different kind of when you wake up there's certain mantras you can say to like have certain like Vajra armor suits and like and it's just it's oriented in a bodhisattva way. It's not because I'm the most special one here and this world is all about me. It's like because I care this much and I want to be available to like really serve beings, like I'm gonna layer up, like I'm gonna like have good boundaries in these very different ways. Like that's actually a very practical, like highly emphasized like bodhisattva and like Vajrayana practice to like have certain protective fields too. Again, not to augment our selfishness.
No, just to protect our energy so it goes where it can be the most effective.
And we can keep it generating and
So it's not
nourishing and
draining.
expanding and yeah, we don't just deplete the resources and get
maybe I'll
hurt.
ask for those.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah, there's a lot. There's all kinds of protection mandalas and things we can wear and like
Some visualization, but
and visualizations for sure and so there's really and those should like for bodhisattva stuff, especially in the Tibetan Buddhist thing, I think Tibetan Buddhist approach and cosmology and methodology and all that, those are very emphasized. Like because all of a sudden we're being a part of a very big, vast world, which means we need to have more skills and more resources, more tools, more ways of being embodied, like that are actually supported. So that comes to like all these secondary supportive conditions that are vitally important to have. Like not just love, compassion, and wisdom on, but like have it be embodied. And bodies always have boundaries. Worlds always have boundaries. There's always a membrane to keep the world together. Always a discerning permeable membrane. What to let in, what to excrete. Every living system has it. If it's going to stay around for a long time. So anyway, that's like, yeah, we can talk if you have questions about that. Like there's different certain things if you want. Yeah. We take a minute and just like meditate, let it just kind of feel through, reactivate the motivation. If anything was helpful, positive for ourselves, for any other being, like may this be a perfect supportive condition for every single being to like fully turn on their natural love, compassion, and wisdom like right now and to have it stay on for them to be fully enlightened Buddhas. So we'll just generate that kind of a heartfelt wish and like however way you want to do that, just take a minute. Thank you, friends. Thanks so much. Yeah, very much.